We couldn't talk about rivers in Milan without noting the Great Hudson, but it's worth noting first two tributaries running in opposite directions. The 56-mile Roloff-Jansen Hill heads south and dips very slightly into Milan in a distinct U-turn and then heads north. The headwaters of the Wappinger Creek originate in Milan and run south. These two waterways empty into the Hudson 50 miles from each other and affected the location of two major Native American populations. Different scholars have different views about a precise boundary, if there was one, or how fluid it might have been, but there is general agreement that in the early post-contact period there was an orientation of the Mohegan around the Roloff-Jansen Hill and north, and the Delaware or Lenape and most of Dutchess County and south. These recently found remnants from those preceding us on the lands we now call Milan date from 30 to 45 centuries ago, putting our 2 centuries of civic form in longer perspective. Milan found itself literally a throughway between the highly desirable iron ore of Salisbury, Connecticut, and routes west, even far west. 1802 saw the creation of the Ulster and Delaware Turnpike, which would connect Salisbury, Connecticut to the Susquehanna River, 150 miles away. Known locally as the Salisbury Turnpike, inns and stagecoach stopovers emerged along its route, like Lafayette House. These turnpikes connected rivers and canals across New York, like the Erie Canal, and enabled a large population shift away from the rural parts of the Hudson Valley. As for the Hudson, the barge Milan was just one of very many boats that plied that route for much of the 1800s, carrying passengers and goods in each direction. Perhaps Robert Livingston thought he owned both sides of the entire valuable Roloff-Jansen Hill when his 1686 grant declared that its southernmost bend would establish the southern boundary of his 160,000-acre manor. But given the angle of the border back to the Hudson and a few miles of Rogue River, a tiny portion would not be his. This little wrinkle would several hundred years later ensure Milan ended up, although barely, with a train station. For ease of construction, the railroad laid the tracks along the southern bank of the Roloff-Jansen Hill, which allowed for a station in Jackson Corners, in the northeast corner of town. Technically, the Cokertown station was over the border in Red Hook, although the hamlet it served was very much in Milan. As Milan residents became proud owners of automobiles, Milan's role as a thruway took on new meaning with the construction of the Taconic State Parkway, which by 1949 reached but terminated at Lafayetteville. It was a boost to existing local business of all kinds and prompted a spurt of gasoline stations. In 1957, the Kingston-Rhinecliff ferries were replaced with a bridge, and in 1963, the full connection to the north was completed through the Taconic Parkway, creating the network we know today. Perhaps as a salute to the Roloff-Jansen Hill's historic role, the Taconic Parkway crosses over the short portion that runs into Milan, allowing those driving by a quick glimpse into the waterways known so well by Native Americans, the Livingstons, county surveyors, and railroad engineers of the 19th century. For more information to discuss how you can get involved, please contact any of us on the Milan Bicentennial Committee.